Hello, theme park enthusiasts, and welcome back to Planet Coaster. In the last episode, we went ahead and put in the Spin-O-Rama, the figure-8 roller coaster that's in the park now. And in this episode, I'm going to try to finish off this area by putting in the rides for the location. So, one of the bigger things in this area definitely is a Ring of Fire, which really somewhat highlights the issues with the wooden coaster in the fact that in the real park, the Ring of Fire almost is as tall as the lift hill on the wooden coaster. It is a little bit bigger, but still, they're somewhat in the same ballpark, and as you can see here, they are not close. But the Ring of Fire is in the proper location. I name it Fireball as it is in this particular park. Then I just go ahead and change the settings on it and the color scheme to match up with the one that's in the park. And so, as I said, this video we're basically going to be doing all the different little rides that are in this area, the flat rides. And then I hope in the next video to go to another area of the park, put in the flat rides for that location. In a video after that, I will hopefully then put in the train that goes around the park. And finally, we will do 2 more videos, I would hope, after that. One where I set up any of the different foliage and such, the different trees, any of the different food stalls and stuff that I have not put in that need to be there. And then one video where we sort of go on a ride on the different rides to highlight how the park looks as a whole. That's sort of the goal, so I'm hoping for 3 more videos in this series, possibly 4 or so. We'll have to see just how much time it takes to put in all those little details that I want. Unfortunately, as I've said in previous videos, there are some rides that will not be in this park that are in the actual park. Those are primarily the water rides, because there just aren't the water rides available in this game. And by that I'm meaning water rides such as water parks. There should be like a water slide on the other side of the wooden coaster's lift hill here, sort of to the left of where we are right now. I can't put that in, and there's also a water park over near the log ride that I put in toward the beginning of this series. But again, I can't put that in. So those I'll just have to omit, and as I said, hopefully if they do make a Planet Coaster 2, those are kind of things that they do put in, so that way we can enjoy more by having that water park experience to add on to parks, as well as to create just entire water parks of our own. But for now, I'm putting in 2 of the other major flat rides that are in this area, which is a kids bumper cars that goes in here and a carousel. Now there are also about 3 more kids rides that are supposed to be in this area. There's a small little swings and a frog hopper, as well as just a little ride with basically 4-wheel vehicles and stuff that kids can ride on, sort of like a dune buggy sort of thing that just goes in a circle. I don't have those rides available to me, and they didn't really have space with the way that the other rides have laid out, so I made the executive decision to sort of omit those, and I'm going to put in 1 ride to sort of make up for those 3 missing small kids rides. Here I'm finally moving the train station to where it will actually go, which is on the other side of the roller coaster here, on the other side of the wooden coaster. And so that's where the train will leave from, and we'll go ahead and work on that, as I said, in a couple of episodes. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and move that path around a little bit, just to give myself some room to put in both the entrance and exits for the carousel and the bumper cars here. This is again where it's a bit tricky to make a recreation of a place like Cliffs, because really all this area is just open concrete and people just sort of naturally stand in lines waiting for the rides. So this entire area shouldn't be grass at all, it should just be all concrete, but there also wouldn't be queue lines. It would just have area that people could walk around. But because of the fact that queue lines are needed in the game, sort of had to put that in, and I just have to deal with it as best I can. So, trying to make it accurate and the flow patterns to the area as accurate as I could. Same sort of thing here, just putting in the entrance and exit in places so that I have enough room to put in a queue line. Figuring out how to best use the space, and hoping that I don't have more people in line than I can really fit. Then, as always with my recreation rides, I'm going ahead and putting in the gold chest here just to up the Q rating, because really I have to leave the design of the place accurate to how it looks in real life. So with that in mind, can't really change things to up the Q rating in that respect. But I do want people to still come and enjoy the rides, so we'll just put the gold chest in just for the Q. Now, the one building or design feature that I will be adding on here is going to be the that there is a building around the bumper cars here. So we'll be seeing that built here shortly in the video. Right now I'm changing the color on the carousel and stuff just to get it accurate to the way it should be. Setting up things like making sure that the rides don't have a cost, making sure that they're full when they are running, and renaming them to be accurate for the park. Originally here I had named this one inaccurately because I was thinking that the name of it was actually what turns out to be the small little circle kids ride that I was mentioning a few moments ago. When I realized that though, I go ahead and change it appropriately. The pause is as I'm looking up the names for the things to make sure that they work properly. And then yes, this is just named as the kiddie bumper cars because there actually are two bumper cars in this park. There's this one over here that's meant for little kids, and then there's a more adult oriented one that will be in the next section of the park that I will be working on, hopefully in the next video. So I was hoping that I could just have it allow me to build a building around it, sort of like I can around a roller coaster's station. But that is not the case with this particular ride. So I just have to sort of freehand it here, and was struggling to get the pieces where I want him to go. They wasn't really wanting to cooperate with me. So had to play around with it a bit, and finally I get a corner piece fairly well set up the way I want it, and then I'm able to sort of use that piece and just try to get it into position properly, get the bright blue color of the building accurate. And here we'll see me adjusting the angle just so it flows with the front of the ride. And then I can use that as a starting point to go ahead and put on other pieces. I realize technically that's not part of the building there, so I delete it, then I go back into the building and begin duplicating in that respect. Put in some entrance pieces here that are not exactly where I want them, but I'll deal with that here shortly. And as I said, just sort of get the building in place overall, make sure that it's going to work, which one of the concerns I had when I was building this building was I knew about how tall it was going to have to be and stuff, and that it was going to have an angled roof. And one of my concerns was going to be, would that work with the wooden coaster in the location that it is and such. And it turns out I just have the clearance where I don't have any clipping issues and such. I got lucky with it and very happy with the outcome of it. So again here, putting in the exit, it's not quite where I want it, but I'll take care of that here momentarily once I get the building sort of entirely built out. I have realized that this again I believe was just a aluminum sided building of some sort, but it was blue in color. So I've realized that the better situation that I should have done with the buildings I built for the Rattlers, two white buildings in the background there, should have used this painted wood the same as I'm doing here instead of that stone. And I may at a point go back and change that. If somebody else is playing and wishes to, they definitely can go back and make that change. It's just one of those that I do realize now that the wood I think looks better and gives more of that aluminum look than I got with the stone. As far as the ceiling though, I still would have had to do something similar to what I ended up doing, because it had to be a flat roof and metal. So probably the choice I made in that is what I would have gone with either way. As I said, I very well may go back through off camera even and change the stone into the painted wood and just make it white. So I did the front area there to make sure that I got the pitched roof to come together in the middle as I wanted it here. Really, as I said, this building is pretty much the biggest thing I'm adding in this particular episode, because the other rides are just sort of there, out there for people to ride on as they are. As I'm doing this, I was also thinking about one more ride in the area that I haven't put in yet, which was the what is called Backdraft or Overdraft. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head right now. But it was a ride I did go on while at the park. Basically, it's sort of a frog hopper style ride where you're spun around and then it bounces you up in the air using hydraulics. There isn't anything really in Planet Coaster that is exactly like that. So I really was, as I said, trying to think as I was building this and figure out what would sort of work and fit for such a ride. And you'll see here in a little bit what I came up with. It fits as far as the space, and it does have a lifting motion to it, so I felt like that was a reasonable compromise. Not exactly perfect by any means, but again, have to use what is available considering the limitations of the game. So here I am just setting in the side pieces, the angles. Was a bit tricky, and especially is a bit tricky on this side because of the wooden coaster. It sort of distorts where the mouse wants to put the pieces and such, and it also really impairs vision a little bit. So I'm having to try to ensure that the pieces are going where I want them and are not a row or two back or forward of where I want them. As I said, it was a little bit on the tricky side, but not the end of the world by any means. So at this point, there are 2 rides missing from the area that I'll still be adding in. As I said, I do add in a swings to sort of make up for the 3 small kids rides that are missing, because there is a swing of sorts. The swing that is actually in the area just is like a traditional swing almost, but with using a recliner instead of a 1-seat, and it just swings back and forth so that kids can have a nice little swinging motion without anything too thrilling. They also do have a little frog drop tower, but the only drop towers I had were much too big. Felt like they wouldn't work. So I felt that the thing that was the closest that really would fit in this area for younger kids and such was the swing here. I put it where the small frog drop tower is located in the actual park, and decided that, as I said, it was a fitting replacement. I could easily see the park using something like this, and I thought that was a good compromise in that way. So I added in, considering that there wasn't really, since this ride doesn't exist, I didn't have any color scheme to go with it, didn't have a name or anything, so I just left it completely basic in those ways, but did get in place here. Then, as I said, I was debating calling it good enough right here, but I knew that off to the left here, just left of where the entrance for the Rattler is, there should be another ride, and I was really thinking about what ride I felt would fit here. Probably that ride, the sort of spinning scissor type ride, was height-wise the most appropriate, but it doesn't have a motion that's at all like the actual ride that should go there. So instead I decided to settle on this one. It's a unique ride. It's not one that I plan on using in many parks overall, because, like I said, it's just very unique, and I don't think it's really overall that interesting of a ride. But again, that sort of matches almost what the ride in question is. So I felt like that was a good compromise. It had basically the same footprint as the ride, and so it fit in that respect. And I was able to put in it instead of the one that isn't in the game. It's once again one of those, when I look at this game, I do love the game overall, but the more I play it, the more I realize there are limitations to what the game has to offer. And I really hope that with maybe a Planet Coaster 2, some of those limitations will be removed, because they can put in some things to improve the gameplay, as well as putting in a lot more flat rides that are now sort of commonplace in different parks. That would be a really enjoyable thing. For now though, as I finish up the last little bit of tidying up of this area, I do hope that you've enjoyed what I've done in this episode. And if you have, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you've not already, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, so they are aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again for the next episode of Planet Coaster.